Okay, so let's start a new program for our shade preferences. So how do we do it? File, new, Android project, and let's give it a name called shade pref demo or something like that. I'm selecting Android 2.2 as your target SDK. I'll give a package name com.hitesh.shadeprefdemo, and there is an activity that I want to by default create that's actually called as your shade preferences demo activity. Shade preferences demo activity. So we just created one simple application with just one activity. So what I want to do is to create this application, or we will demonstrate shade preference something like this. In the main.xml, what we will try to do is we will create one text view and one edit text and one button. Okay, so whatever we enter into the edit text, let's save it into shade preference. Whenever the activity gets launched, let's fetch the data that we are storing in the shade preference and show it in the text view. Okay, so how do you give a ID to this text view? Android colon ID is equal to @ plus ID by, let us say, text view is okay, fine. Okay, and then I will actually copy this, paste it here, edit text. Instead of this, I will put edit text, and I don't want any text for this edit text. Okay, and then what I will do, I need a button. So instead of edit text, button, and the ID I will change it to button. But button needs some text, right? So I will say Android colon text is equal to click me to save data into your shared preference. Now let's go and see your generated r.java file. What will you have in your r.java file? You have three buttons, three IDs: button, edit text, text view. So that's also clear for us now. Now let's go to our shade preferences demo activity .java. So how do you get instances of your edit text, text view and button here? Edit text et, then text view TV or whatever it is, button btn. Now I have to import all these three. So this, import this, import this. Now how do you reference all these things now? Et is equal to edit text, find view by id, r.id dot edit text. Okay, TV is equal to text view, find view by id, r.id dot text view. Same way, btn is equal to button, find view by id, r.id dot button. Now the onCreate function will get called every time you launch the activity. So in the launching of the activity, what I am trying to do is I want to get some shade preferences and get the value that is actually stored and display it on the text view. To do that, what is the function that we have to use to get the shade preference? Get shade preference. So shade preferences sp is equal to get shade preferences, and it requires two parameters. The first one is the name of the parameter, and the second one is the mode of the parameter. Okay, the what we call mode can be an integer type, and it is usually mode private or mode word readable or mode word writable. So let's actually put say 0, and let us give the name of the shade preferences as PREFS. Simple, some shade preference. So what it is trying to do? It is trying to go and get a shade preference whose name is prefs. Whose name is prefs. Now once this is done, what it will try to do is, you have an object of the class shade preference. Let us get string str is equal to sp dot get string, and it is storing key value, the data within the shade preference as key and value pairs. So what I will do, I will put the key as my value, and the default value, if there is no my value available in the shade preferences, then there is some default value that you have to return, and the default value I will return here is no data in shade preferences. For the first time when you launch, what will be the value in str? No data in shade preferences. Why is that so? Ippadi we never created prefs. We never added a value called my value. Then how will it contain? It will not contain, right? So for the first time here, str will always contain no data in shade preferences. Now what I will do is, I will say tv dot set text to str. Now let's write a on-click listener to this button to add the data or save the data into the shade preferences. How do you add a on-click listener to the button? btn dot set on-click listener. Now here itself I can create new view dot on-click listener. When you create this, there's a function called on-click. What will happen in this function called on-click? Whenever you click this button, your on-click function will get called. So what I'm actually trying to do is, I will again try to get your shade preferences. So I will move this shade preference from within this activity to shade preferences sp. So that way you can access it here also. Then what I will do is, I have to get a editor object. What is the class that we have to use to make changes in the shade preference? Shade preferences dot editor. Shade preferences dot editor edit is equal to sp dot edit. So now this is giving us an object of the class shade preferences dot editor. Now what I will do is edit dot put string, the name of the shade preference. What is the name? I will put it as my value, and the next thing is the argument that I have to pass. So before that, what I will do is, I will say string entered string is equal to et dot get editable text dot to string. Now what will entered string contain? Whatever the user has actually entered in the edit text box, and then I am actually storing it in the shade preferences, and I will commit by calling edit dot commit. Edit dot commit. Okay, so what I have done now, and the launch of the application, I am getting something from the shade preference, and when I click the button, I am actually saving the data back to your shade preference. So now tell me, I will launch this application for the first time. When you launch, what will you see on the application screen? You will see a text view, you will see edit text and a button. But what will be there in the text view? No data in shade preferences. Why is that so? Because so far we did not put any data in the shade preference. So let's look at that. So we started this activity. I think it's still starting. So what do you have here? No data in shared preference. Now I'll come back to my home screen. Come back to the applications, and then again click on shared preferences demo. What will be contained there? Still no data in shared preference. Here what I will do is a simple question for you guys. I will add in the text view Hitesh V and say click me to save into data shared preferences. What happens now? Hitesh V gets stored in your shared preferences. Now I came to home screen. And now I will launch shared preferences demo. What will the text view contain? Huh? Are you sure it will contain Hitesh V? No. Why no? Who is telling no? Why no? Yes. When you just press the home button, remember the life cycle of an activity. Was your activity destroyed? No. Your activity was just going into background. So, when you start this again, will your onCreate function get called? No. It will just call your onRestart, onResume, onStart, and then the activity will be in the running state. So when onCreate is not getting called, you wrote your entire code of fetching data from shared preference in your onCreate. So now if you start, it will contain no data in shared preference. Now tell me, I pressed back here. When I press back here, what happens? Activity gets destroyed. When I press this, will your onCreate function get called? Yes. So when I click on this, onCreate function is getting called, and then you are getting your shared preference data. Suppose you wanted to press home key, and when you load also the shared preference data should come. Then where your code should be? Your code should be written in your on resume or on start, wherever you want to write this. See, now let us do one small exercise. Let's go to our DDMS view. What view? DDMS view. In the DDMS view, what is DDMS view? Device Debug Management Service, whatever it is. So here in the File Explorer, let's go and see your data folder. Inside data folder, you have one more data folder. And then, what's the package name of your application? com.hitesh.sharedprefdemo. Let's open that. And then there's a folder here called shared_prefs. The shared_prefs contain one more file here called prefs.xml. So what is happening here? All your shared preferences, in order to make it persistent, the data is being stored in the form of XML files. Let's try to get that file outside. When I try to get that file outside, I will actually store it on my desktop. I'll try to store it on my desktop. Let's go to the desktop, and there is this file called prefs.xml. Let's open this prefs.xml using, say, where is text shader? Okay, let's open it. See, what does it contain? It contains a string whose name is my value, and the value that is stored is Hitesh V. So this is how your shared preference actually gets stored in your application.